we could have mini worlds. We call them high orbital mini Earths. We're not going to stars. We're not going to buckle down and shoot it out, Star Wars and galactic and all that. We're simply talking about getting into high orbit. There is an ecological niche in high orbit. The Russians have been there 76 days. Our own Skylab people are up there for 70-some-odd days. One thing we know about egg intelligence, one thing we know about the Gaia biological intelligence, she's going to fill up every niche where she can go. So there's no question about, is it going to happen? We're being squeezed off the planet Earth the way we were squeezed from the water to the shoreline, from the shoreline to the forest, up in the trees. The unbroken trajectory of human evolution is we get higher, we move faster, we communicate better, we're better to each other, and we're getting more beautiful. I didn't hear that question. Let's wait for a minute now. I'll try to see if I've answered some questions after a while. Space migration, yeah. The key to space migration, intelligence creation, life extension is genetics. So the time, these things don't operate separately. When it's time for us to leave the water, we had to develop at one flash literally hundreds of thousands of new technologies and neurotechnologies. And I want to tell you that the same dialogue, the same debate, the same genetic issues and politics have been going on step by step as we move from unicellular form up to the present. And I think it's important that we be able to feel in our own nervous systems that evolution has always involved people like us getting together as we are tonight, figuring out where we came from and who's slowing us down and what's the factual evidence as to how fast and where we can move. For example, one time, with the same situation we have on this planet, of overpopulation, pollution, the decreasing natural sources existed at the first stage of life on this planet where we were all underground. You remember that time when we were all unicellular creatures? Now, I'm not here to knock unicellular forms of life. There are no good guys or bad guys in this scenario. The unicellular form of life does nothing but float and suck. Got a one-dimension brain. The sex life is interesting. You clone. There's one of you, and there's two of you, and four of you, there's 8 of you. Now that's wonderful. Unicellular, unisexual division is a fine technique used by DNA when it's time to really populate a niche. And we're all going to be cloning each other when the time comes to move off this planet. So I'm not knocking cloning. But the problem with cloning or unicellular sex is, it's great because you don't have to worry about a date on Saturday night. There's no Lee Marvin suits when it's all over. However, it gets a little boring. So when it's time to slow down a rate of growth, and when it's time for DNA to improve neurotechnology, then you get the sort of evolution we've been through. Now, listen, the amoebas didn't want that to happen. The adult authorities of the amoebas went through the same thing in the Precambrian situation we're going through now. The amoeba police said, dangerous reports are coming about young amoebas hanging around shallow lagoons ingesting a dangerous drug called calcium. Calcium. The AMA, that's the Amoeba Medical Association, has conclusively demonstrated that calcium causes head-tail symmetry, causes bones to grow. You know what? Your young amoebas have bones and muscles. Like some amoebas have been known to ingest this dangerous drug calcium and swim away from the home nest never to be seen again. And amoeba theologians have clearly set the situation right when they say, if God had intended amoebas to grow bones, He would not have made calcium illegal. Now, I don't have to tell a sophisticated crowd like this how we went from calcium ingestion to oxygen sniffing and up the chain of biochemical intelligence. The whole thing is genetic. Listen, we're not going to move into space because some male macho militarist in the Pentagon or the KGB think it's time to move guns up there. Sperm intelligence is great. Sperm intelligence moves out and establishes the first niches and so forth. Every species, every tribe, every gene pool. Oh, At this moment, I must pay tribute to a very honored guest tonight, Robert Anton Wilson and Arlen Wilson. Stand up. Yeah. Arlen, one of the great heroes of our time, author of the Illuminatus, Cosmic Trigger, The Universe Next Door. What should I talk about, Robert? Oh, he wants more oxygen sniffing. The adult hive, it's all defined this way. The adults who run the hive naturally have to put up every barrier to change. You know, the robot program do this. No good guys, bad guys. There's some of us who are robot programmed to be what I call outcasts. Every successful sperm egg ship has to have its people up there looking forward and sending back information as to where the next ecological niche is going. Because I'm going to say it flat out. They accused us of this when we left the water. They said we were cop-outs. When we went to the shoreline and developed our fur coats and binocular vision, they said we were copping out using terrible new technology. When we stood erect, they said you're copping out getting high that way with a backbone standing up. You know, they've been telling us that. I'll tell you right now, I admit it, it's an escape trip. The people who know how to, you know, the smartest, the most courageous people that like themselves and love their loved ones, don't want to stay around and fight over the barnyard. Move out. Keep one step ahead of them. We don't have to fight them because we're smarter than they are. And we're always sending them back. We're always sending them back signals. We're always sending them back. We're doing it for them. Those of us that are outcasts, that are future people. And it's our time, my friends. You know, there are times in history for centuries and nothing happens except one duke is changed by another baron and so forth. But this is the time when the outcasts and the future casts and those who... And by the way, there's no genetic thing here. Everyone in this room is carrying in his DNA and her DNA the machinery for building a 20th century and a 21st century and a 23rd century reality. Now, sure, we're going to change morphologically during that period, but the neurological equipment is there. That's what LSD is all about in psychedelic drugs. You know about how the DNA operates when you were a little baby? You didn't know anything about disco. That's all you could do was lie on your mother's arm. Your calcium habit, got your bones to grow. But the way evolution works, the evolutionary, the DNA strand, the future of your life is a spool and it's protected by what are called histone proteins. It's a sheath. And there are certain specific anti-histone proteins usually coming from pollution. What's pollution? Pollution is a signal to peel off the next step. So that step by step, as each one of us grew, a new link in the histone protein coverage was peeled off, and we started moving around. We went to first grade. We went to high school. When we got to the high school, an enormous metamorphosis took place. Sperm egg realities took over. This is all pre-programmed. Well, there's no reason. I think it's a very amusing hypothesis with a lot of scientific muscle behind it to suggest that everyone in this room is carrying around in the LG section of your nervous system and in the unpeeled off sections of your DNA a future neurotechnology. And, it's simply more fun to have a nervous system ahead of the down species than I think, or we have no choice about it anyway. Okay.